ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to another episode of Eat the Donut, where we are what? Yes, you know, achieving fat loss freedom with a good old Disney happily ever after. Thank you so much for tuning back in. I hope you have been enjoying the first handful of podcasts that have come out so far. It has been awesome getting some messages from a handful of you, just the kind words, checking out the podcast. Just the support has been awesome to see. I'm super grateful for this. And again, if you are someone who tuned into the first podcast ever, you know, anytime you're starting a new thing, maybe practicing a new skill, there's a lot of nerves that go into it, feelings of self-doubt, anxiety, overthinking it. Again, like, to be honest, this podcast took me like 2 years to finally start and bite the bullet on. And now that we're up and running, doing these weekly podcasts, it's been going great. You know, I've been enjoying the process so much, being able to come up with topics to talk about, get a little bit more in depth with things, even the editing. I'm actually having a blast with the editing because all I'm really doing is taking this podcast, downloading it or exporting it, and then put it into a software where I can add music to the beginning and end. And I thought that was the coolest thing in the world, where I could add a little bit of music to the beginning and it intros into me talking to closing out with a little bit more music at the end. It's it's the little things in life, guys. It's the little things in life that really get me going. But anyways, I really appreciate everyone that has reached out, and with their kind words, it really fills my cup, and it kind of keeps me coming back for more. Obviously, I'm going to do this no matter what, whether I was getting kind words or not, but it gets me even more excited to hopefully give you some tips, advice, and some strategies to help you along your fat loss journey, your weight loss journey, your journey of improving your health and well-being. So in today's episode, we are going to talk about all things protein. The protein playbook is what I like to call this episode, where we're going to dive into the benefits of protein, how much protein you should be getting on a day-to-day basis. And one of the big things is how to get more protein in. I think this is a very common struggle for a lot of individuals, where they're getting protein in, but they don't know how to get more in. So we're going to go over a laundry list of ways on how to sneak in more protein, how to not make it that complicated as well, finding simple tips and simple strategies so you can start applying these to your day-to-day, to your nutrition plan, to your diet, and all that good stuff. But it's actually funny. Earlier this morning, I was actually getting a haircut, talking to my barber, and she was mentioning about if I've had any like protein donuts or enjoyed any protein donuts. And, you know, with most of these foods we love, like our favorite treats, whether it's an ice cream or a Pop-Tart or some sort of protein bar or a donut, a protein donut that they make in a, let's quote unquote, bringing the quotes back really early here, in a healthy way. You know, they make it high protein, they make it low calorie. I always am kind of a pain in the ass with that stuff, where I just rather have the real thing most of the time. But I have had a good protein donut once. It was actually at a farmer's market here in San Diego. And it actually tasted somewhat relatively close to like a cake style donut. It was moist, it was tasty, it was chocolatey, but I wish I remembered the name of it. Well, it's actually funny. So if you've never seen my logo, it's my company name is just kpdfit. Keep it simple. I'm a simple guy. But there's a donut over the eye, and I really made it important that there would be a donut theme in the logo, just because, as you know, I love donuts. I like to make the theme of donuts. I think people should eat donuts and learn how to eat donuts and enjoy their life, because a big theme of my coaching is to eat the donut. That's why I called my podcast Eat the Donut. But also because a donut never made anyone fat, just like a salad never made anyone skinny. And I feel like a big part, I was actually talking to this with my therapist as well, it's like a big part of what I do is not necessarily teach people to eat more fruits and vegetables and protein and all that stuff. Yes, I do that. That's a big part of it. But I feel like more of the time and energy is spent on changing your relationship with food, teaching you how you can have a donut and still make progress. And don't let eating that one donut turn into another 11. You're eating the entire dozen because you feel like the one donut made you lose all your progress or fuck up your entire week, when that's just not true. But anyway, so as I was saying, I have a donut in my logo of KPD Fit. Like I said, it dots the I in fit. and I was wearing one of my shirts to the gym, and someone asked me, like, "Oh, what's KPD Fit?" I'm like, "Oh, that's my logo. That's my brand." And they're like, "Oh, awesome. Like, what do you do?" I was like, "Oh, I'm a coach." They're like, "Oh, what's up with the donut?" I was like, "Oh, just I like donuts." Like, "Oh, do you have like a protein donut company?" I was like, "No, I'm a fat loss coach. I'm a nutrition coach. I'm a health coach who actually influences people to actually eat donuts." And he gave me this look, all confused, all basically like, "What kind of fucking coach are you to help people lose weight and lose fat, but you tell them to eat donuts?" And for me, it's like, "Hey, man, you live your lifestyle. You be super strict. You do your thing, whatever makes you happy." I'm not judging. That's your choices. Whatever fulfills you, makes you happy. But for me, for all my clients, I think we all want to live a more flexible lifestyle where, yes, we're taking care of our health. We're doing the workouts. We're getting our steps in. We're getting our sleep. We're eating the whole foods. We're eating the protein. We're eating the fruits. We're eating the vegetables, but not letting the donut cause you to feel any guilt, to cause that donut to spiral into something, again, more than it needs to be, the overindulging and just falling off track for a long period of time. But all right, we're into this. We're into the episode already. Let's kind of get a little bit deeper into the protein playbook. So let's dive in. So first, let's start off with why protein is so essential. I have three reasons here, three big reasons, especially when it comes to fat loss. That's what I'm going to talk more specifically behind on why protein is so important for fat loss. So the first thing, in order to lose weight, we need to be in a calorie deficit. That means you're eating fewer calories than you're burning off. So that's called a negative energy balance, a negative calorie balance. And when you are consistent in a calorie deficit, you will lose weight. Like, weight will start to fall off. You'll start losing, the scale will go down, and things will start to change. But why we want to make sure we're eating enough protein is the weight we do lose, we want to make sure it comes from our fat tissue and not our muscle. We want to be able to maintain as much muscle as we can while making sure we're losing our fat. So the weight that comes off, we want to make sure it comes from our fat tissue, our adipose tissue. So eating enough protein is going to help preserve and, in some cases, build lean muscle mass, since protein is going to support muscle repair, muscle growth, preserving the lean body mass you have. And in some cases, like I was saying, when you're more specifically like a newbie at the gym and you start strength training and weightlifting, while you're in a calorie deficit still, you can actually still build muscle. Now, when you're a little bit more intermediate, a little bit more advanced, kind of away from the newbie stage of fat loss and training and fitness, building muscle and losing fat at the exact same time, like day to day trying to do it, is a little bit more challenging. That gets a little bit more advanced where it's like, okay, you can build muscle and lose fat. You're probably going to put it more into phases though, where you go into a muscle building phase, then you go into a fat loss phase. And over the course of the year, you can do both. But for a newbie, more on the day to day, week to week, when they're new to training, they will actually start to build muscle and lose fat. And especially if they're in a calorie deficit. So that's why I say when eating enough protein can help you maintain muscle mass and in some cases build muscle mass. That's what I mean by some cases. Being a newbie to the gym, starting to strength train, starting to progressively overload in the gym, while also being in a calorie deficit and eating a lot of protein can help you burn the fat, but also build muscle. But no matter what, whatever stage you are in, whatever sort of fitness level you're at, eating enough protein is just going to be able to help you at least maintain your muscle mass while we are in that calorie deficit, we are losing weight, we are losing fat, we are losing our adipose tissue. So all that weight comes from the fat tissue. Now, number two, before we enter a fat loss phase and we start to dial back your calories, we start to cut your calories a bit, your body is used to eating X amount of calories. It's used to eating the same amount of calories roughly day to day. So when we take away some of those calories, when we cut those calories a little bit, we are giving our body and brain less fuel that it's not used to. So it's going to give you signs. It's going to send some messages to you like, hey, where's that 500 calories you used to give me? Where are those extra calories you used to give me? It sort of goes into this mode because what it's trying to do is kind of protect you, right? That's what our body does. It wants us to be in homeostasis. It wants us to feel comfort. So when we start to give it a little bit of stress by cutting our calories a bit, there are going to be signs of hunger. There are going to be signals of your body, your brain telling you like, hey, give me those extra 300, 400, 500 calories. So hunger is completely normal when you enter a calorie deficit, when you are trying to lose weight and try to lose fat. But what we don't want to happen is you to turn into this ravenous savage who is ready to raid the cabinets, drive through the McDonald's, order one of everything, been there before, by the way, and just have your hunger so high where it's unmanageable. But what we do want to do is make sure we manage our hunger and feel as satiated as possible as much as we can. So when you increase your protein intake, it's going to increase your satiety and reduce your hunger. While protein is the most satiating macronutrient out there, we have three macronutrients. You have carbs, fats, and protein. So protein compared to carbs and fat is going to help you feel fuller and fuller for longer because it is so satiating. So when you eat this high protein rich diet, it's going to help reduce your appetite, help manage your overall calorie intake, making it easier to stick to a deficit. So like I was saying before, like hunger can happen. That's okay. It's not an emergency. We can have a whole nother conversation on that. But making sure you keep that protein intake high and you're getting enough protein day to day will help tame that beast. You won't feel like this bear coming out of a hibernation ready to just devour everything. We're going to tame that beast. So you might have signals of hunger, but it feels manageable. You can handle it. So a higher protein diet or getting a lot of protein in throughout the day can just make being in a calorie deficit a lot more sustainable, a lot more manageable, and you can adhere to it a lot more as well. And then lastly, why it's so important to eat your damn protein, because it's not a magic pill. It's not this crazy, sexy supplement. It's not this magical detox diarrhea type of tea that all these things say they're going to boost your metabolism, because that's all just a crock of shit. But what protein will do, it actually does boost your metabolism. It's a big factor on how to make your metabolism faster, because protein has the highest thermic effect of food, also known as your TEF, compared to fats and carbs. And what the thermic effect of food means is it basically refers to the amount of energy, the amount of calories that are going to burn or are required in order to digest, absorb, and process the nutrients you eat. So protein digestion burns more calories, which will boost your metabolism and assist in fat loss. So I always like to make the joke about this, where if you eat more protein, you're basically getting free cardio in, which you're not. I gotta do that for legal purposes, because you're not. Obviously, cardio does more with your heart health, your lungs, cardiovascular system, but protein will assist in you burning some more calories throughout the day just from having a higher protein intake, because the protein is going to use more calories. It's going to burn more calories in the digestion process. So those are the three big reasons on why protein is so beneficial, so important, so essential for fat loss. Is it's going to help you maintain your muscle mass, and again, in some cases, build it. It's going to help better manage your hunger. It's going to increase your satiety and reduce hunger. And then it's also going to boost your metabolism, as it is the highest thermic effect of food compared to the other macronutrients, fats, and carbs. So let's get into now, how much protein should you eat? So when it comes to protein, there's a bare minimum number I like to give. You can always go more. I actually encourage more, but at a bare minimum, I want you to at least be hitting this number at some point consistently, where you are doing it forever on ever. So when it comes to finding your protein target, you want to aim for about 0.7 grams of protein per pound of body weight or goal body weight. So obviously, say I'm 250 pounds, I'm trying to lose weight and be 200 pounds. I would multiply 0.7 by 200, because that's my goal body weight. And again, this is your minimum intake of protein. You can always have more. I personally like to get closer to 1 gram per pound of body weight, but at a bare minimum, I'm at least trying to get 0.7 grams per pound of body weight. So let's use the 200 pounds example. If my goal body weight is 200 pounds, I'll take 200, multiply it by 0.7 grams, and that will give me 140 grams as my bare minimum target. So each day, at a bare minimum, I'm at least trying to get 140 grams of protein per day. Now, I know I'm saying this, you're doing the calculation right now. You're like, shit, I'm getting half that. How am I supposed to double my protein intake Like, how am I supposed to do that? You will do it. You just got to learn and you got to make some changes. But as I always say, baby, slow is sexy. Small changes, baby. One thing at a time, one thing at a time. So realistically, late night show Kevin's done there for a bit. We'll see how that goes. But if you do notice, like if I notice my protein intake was at 30 grams per day right now, I'm not going to suddenly increase that to 140 grams right off the bat. But what I will do is instead take that 30 grams and now I'm going to try and increase it to 40 to 50 grams per day. Start to make those little changes there because that's going to be like, all right, we got to add a little bit more chicken. We got to add a little bit more Greek yogurt. We're going to start incorporating a protein shake and just start adding that to your regimen. Start being mindful of it. Start to make it more into a habit where it does become second nature and you get used to. And then after being consistent of hitting 40 to 50 grams a day, all right, now let's make it upwards of 60. And then over time, getting used to that, getting more comfortable with that. Now let's make it 70, then 80, then 90, all the way to 140, where you're finally getting that 140 grams per day. And you are a little bit more used to it. The habit and behavior has ingrained into you. Now you know what you need to do. You're getting comfortable with what you need to do. And it does become second nature. So 0.7 grams of protein per pound of body weight or goal body weight. Once you do that calculation, see where you're at now. And the best thing you do is track it. Like if you don't know, track your calories, track it for the next week, 7 days, be meticulous with it, track everything that goes into your mouth and see where you're at. Because all you're going to be doing is just collecting data. Don't beat yourself up with whatever the data says, but we just need to know what's going on. What isn't measured has a hard time getting improved. Once we have that data of where you're at, cool. All right, this is where I'm at. This is where I need to go. Now let's make incremental changes to get there. Let's take it 1 week at a time, 1 month at a time, but let's at least get things heading in that direction and become more familiar with it, get more comfortable with it. And then at some point during this journey of yours, you're going to be used to it. You're going to know what you need to do in order to get that X amount of protein, whatever your bare minimum goal is. And so now you're probably wondering, how can I get more protein in? You know, it's always funny, this question. Part of me wants to just be a wise ass. You know, it's like someone tell me, how do I get more steps in? And I'm always like, you just fucking get more steps in. I don't know what to tell you. Like, you just walk more. That's how you get more steps in. So find 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 30 minutes there. Like, you just get more steps in by getting more steps in. And I always think the same with proteins. Like, you get more protein in by eating more protein. But I will give you some ideas because I know we can overthink these things and it can become overwhelming and stressful. But I'll give you some simple strategies here that you can start to apply and it'll be pretty darn helpful. So here's my how to get more protein in checklist. So the first thing I want you doing before all these other tips and strategies on how to get more protein in, this should be, again, your bare minimum. Is when you look down at your plate, when you're having your meal, when you have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, when you look down at your plate, there should be a protein source on there. You need to prioritize your protein at each meal first and then create the rest of the meal around it. So when you pick your protein first and build your rest of the meal around it, you're starting to at least get protein in consistently throughout the day. Now, we can get a little bit more specific and strategic here, obviously, depending on how much protein you need. But I like the idea of getting anywhere from like 20 to 40 grams of protein per meal. So for me, like I said, if I'm bare ass minimum trying to get in 140 grams of protein a day, if I get in 30 grams of protein per meal, that leaves me at 90 grams of protein at the end of the day. Now, if I throw in like a protein shake as well, that's 40 grams, that's 130 right there. And then I'm just down to my last 10, which may come through a snack, which may come through adding a little bit more to my meal, like wherever it may come from. But if you start off at a bare ass minimum of having protein on your plate at every single meal, again, roughly maybe 20 to 40 grams, that's going to do a lot of good damage to you hitting your end goal, your end protein target. So that's number one. That's your first thing. If you're not doing that right now, that's your first goal. That's your first task, is to make sure you're starting to get protein at every single meal. Now, number two, this is a sexy one. This is a magic pill, is if you're having protein at each meal, but you're still short of your protein goal, what I want you to do, and don't tell anyone this, but have more protein at each meal. So maybe you're having 2 to 3 ounces of chicken. What you're going to do is have 4 to 5 ounces. Or maybe you have Greek yogurt. You have like a half a cup to a full cup of Greek yogurt. What you're going to do is throw in an extra half a cup or full cup of Greek yogurt to get more protein in. Or maybe you like to have eggs for breakfast. So what you're going to do is add some egg whites to that so you are getting more protein. Or maybe you're having a protein shake and you have a scoop of protein that's 20 grams. What you're going to do is add another scoop to it to make it 40 grams. This is such a simple and effective way, and it just makes life so much easier. You're already having protein at every single meal, and all you're going to do is increase that protein take. You're going to add a little bit more to each meal. So again, if I'm talking about having, 30 grams of protein per meal, maybe I'll make it 40 grams per meal. That's just going to be a little change that makes a big result in the end. If I go from 30 grams per meal, that gives me 90 at the end of the day. If I go to 40, that gives me the 120, which is even closer to that 140 minimum. So if you do those first two really well, you're going to be really damn good at getting your protein target in. Is having protein at each meal and then having more protein at each meal. It's just a simple, I know it's really not that sexy, but it is a simple and effective way that will just make life so much easier. You don't have to do all these crazy things, which I honestly don't know what crazy things as far as protein. I feel like everyone's always looking for this magical quick fix, this hack of some sort, but this is your hack. This is your hack. Eat protein at each meal and make sure you're getting more protein at each meal. All right, so let's get into the last couple points here. So as far as getting more protein in, you can simply start having higher protein snacks. If you like to have a snack or two throughout the day, just prioritize a protein source, whether it's a protein shake, whether it's some cottage cheese, whether it's some beef jerky, or the big thing right now I know is the chomp bars from Trader Joe's, which are awesome. I have some myself. Maybe it's some Greek yogurt. Maybe you're just taking some deli meat, rolling it up, and just throwing it down the mouth hole. Just make sure you're prioritizing protein as a snack, and that can really start to help. Also, incorporate a protein shake. I love protein shakes. It just makes life easy. A lot of mornings, I'll just have a protein shake with some berries, some yogurt, some protein powder, throw a little bit of that Fairlife milk in there, and it's a high protein shake. It's anywhere from 50 to 60 grams of protein, which is a big chunk of protein to start the day. So protein shakes, simple, effective, grab and go as well. So you just fill up a shaker bottle or bottle with some water, shake it up, grab and go. You can have it as a snack, have it later on, have it as your breakfast. I'll a lot of times just make that fruit smoothie of mine, throwing all those ingredients, making sure there's some protein powder in there. Which, side note here, I've been called a psychopath for this. When I make just like a protein powder shake, like I don't do the fruit smoothie or anything like that, I'll just throw 2 scoops of protein in a shaker bottle, and then I'll mix it with water. Why do I get called a psychopath for that? I don't get it. Is it because I'm not having milk with it? I get it. Like milk probably makes it taste better, but what's so crazy about having it with water? I don't know, but been called a weirdo a couple times for doing that. So incorporated protein shake can be super helpful, super easy, great for a grab and go type idea. And number 5, choosing leaner protein options. Maybe you're struggling a little bit more with hitting your calories, but getting your protein up, because that's sort of like a magic recipe we want to hit. I guess I'll say magic because it's really not that magical, but it's the sort of recipe we want to hit where we're hitting our calorie target, which is putting us in a calorie deficit, but we're also eating enough protein. So I always like to think of calories more of a maximum, but your protein is more of a minimum, because we always can go above that as well. So if that's been a little bit of a challenge for you, choosing leaner protein options can be great. So maybe you typically have like an 80% lean ground beef. So obviously there's a little bit more fat in that. But if we take away that fat and we go like a 92, 93, 96% lean ground beef, you're going to get still the big bang for your buck on protein, but less calories because of it, because there's less fat in it. Maybe it's even choosing like chicken breast, because chicken breast is a little bit leaner than like a chicken thigh. Or maybe you choose like a fat-free Greek yogurt or a lower fat cottage cheese instead of a Greek yogurt that's maybe 5% fat, or a cottage cheese that has a little bit more fat as well. So making some simple switches like that for the leaner options can be pretty darn helpful. All right, number 6 is to add/sneak in extra protein into your meals. So I do this all the time. I actually made a post on my story that was a big hit of sneaking in Greek yogurt into my salad. So basically what I do, simple meal by the way, get a salad kit from your local grocery store, super easy, super simple, and you're gonna mix it in a big bowl, everything all together. But what you're gonna do is add in about half a cup to maybe even a full cup. I don't know how you like it, but it's a sneaky way to make it, one, a little bit creamier. I don't know why that sounds so weird right now, but makes it a little bit creamier when you're not putting a big dent in your calories, because Greek yogurt, fat-free Greek yogurt, is so lean in protein, but you're also sneaking in an extra 10, maybe 20 grams of protein by doing that. So some of the ways I like to do it is adding Greek yogurt to pretty much freaking everything. I actually have a whole blog on why you should eat Greek yogurt, is because it pretty much goes with anything, whether you throw it in a shake, whether you throw it in with salad, whether you have it for Taco Tuesday in replacement of a sour cream, because it's way less freaking calories, way higher in protein, and it tastes pretty much the same. Like, I never see a difference when I do that on a Taco Tuesday, adding Greek yogurt instead of sour cream. But add Greek yogurt to pretty much friggin' anything. Cottage cheese, something I've done before is add cottage cheese to like a pasta dish, because if I'm not having maybe ground beef with it, if I'm not having chicken with it, just simply having some pasta sauce, and then adding some cottage cheese to it, maybe a cup or a cup and a half of cottage cheese. Simple way to add some protein there, and it tastes pretty darn good. You can add protein powder to things. Again, the shake is simple as always. You can add it into some oatmeal as well. You can add egg whites into just your regular whole eggs. So just finding ways you can play around with this too, where you're just adding protein sources to your meals, and it gives you a bit more protein, and it's not really putting a big dent in your calories as well. And then lastly, if you're doing all 6 of those things, let's say at this point, this is what I want you to do. I want you to pre-plan, pre-track an entire day of your eating, what foods you're eating in advance, and then review it. Like, track out the entire day, see where you end up with your calories and protein. And then if you're protein short, what adjustments can you make? Like, take some of those tips above. Where can you start to add more protein? Is it just having a little bit more protein at each meal? Is it swapping out a snack for a higher protein snack? Is it maybe choosing a leaner option of protein? But write out the entire day, plan out the entire day, track it all down, and then review. Like, review it. What's the plan? Where are you at? Where's your protein at? Where's your calories at? What adjustments do you have to make? And then just make the adjustments that make sense. A little trial and error, but that's sort of part of the process as well. So hopefully that was helpful. Getting more protein in. The checklist I had there: prioritize protein at each meal, eat more protein at each meal, incorporate high protein snacks, incorporate a protein shake, choose some leaner options, add in / sneak in some extra protein to your meals. And then lastly, just plan out the entire day and see where you end up, and then make adjustments and go from there. Now, I was going to share my entire list of protein options, but it is a long list. So if you have been listening so far, first and foremost, if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe to the channel. 2, also, if you really enjoy this, make sure you leave a 5-star review. And if you want, I can send you everything we went over today in a document with a whole laundry list of protein sources, from meat options to fish options to dairy options to other for like vegans, that you can have forever on ever. It will be yours to save, yours to keep. So do me a favor, is send me a message on Instagram. That's the best way to contact me, or email me. So Instagram's easy. It's at kpd.fit. My email's pretty easy as well. It's kpd@kpd.fit. And just get in contact with me saying, hey, I listened to your podcast. Can I have that protein cheat sheet? And I'll send it right to you. More than happy to give that away. But that's where we are going to close things off today. Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully you got some great takeaways that you can start to apply and assist you in getting more protein, with also it being able to make fat loss a lot easier for you. But as always, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you listening in. If there's anything you need from me, anything I can help out with, do not hesitate to reach out, whether it's a question, whether it's an issue you're having, whether it's something I can do to support you, whether it's just saying, hello, Kevin, how are you? I love those types of messages. Or whether you're just having a question or a thought on maybe something you read or just want my feedback on, please send me a message on Instagram, kpd.fit. Send me an email, kpd@kpd.fit. And I'm more than happy to chat with you. But as always, I appreciate you. I believe in you. Go eat the damn donut and have a good one. We'll see you soon.